California, you are dying because of a drought. Watch my sign. Watch the sign of rain. For I told you there would be severe wind from above. And all the states that are affected by this severe weather have been set up for a shaking of my spirit and an outpouring of my spirit. But California, I'm looking at you. Gold, stone, California, a smaller statue. And God says, once you recognize the man that I have raised up, pray. For the enemy will do everything in his power to put a witch in the White House. Did anybody hear what he just said? For Jezebel has chased away the prophets and even Elijah.
Come on.
Now I have said, go back. For this shall be dismantled, so that there will be no more corruption in the White House, says the Spirit. Today, we're going to take you into joyful praise. You are going to praise in the presence of your enemies. Today, we're going to bring you into deep worship. And we are going to cause you to understand that God has a plan and He's going to place you in that place where you can experience that moment. So we're going to go. I want you today to taste and see that the Lord is what? Good. Is He good? Good. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Everywhere, all over the world, I want you to shout it. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Forget about all the bad that's happening now. Come and enter into me and with me and go into the future. Let's do it. Taste and see that the Lord, He is good. Yeah. Taste and see that the Lord, He is good.
His mercy endures forever.
Yeah.
His goodness endures forever.
So taste and see that the Lord is good. He is good. He is good. Let's sing that again. Taste and see. Taste and see. Taste and see that the Lord, He is good. Taste and see. Taste and see that the Lord, He is good.
His mercy endures forever. His goodness endures forever. So
Taste and see that the Lord is good.
He is good. He is good.
He is good.
'Cause He is good. And He is right. And He is love. He is so kind.
Sing it again. Sing it again.
He is good. Yes. He is right. And
will see He is good. He is good.
He is good.
Your goodness. Your goodness lifted me up. Say it. Your goodness lifted me up. Mercy. Your mercy lifted me up. Your mercy lifted me up. Your grace will carry me through. Your grace will carry me through. Put your hands together. Ronnie, go. Yeah. Your goodness lifted me up. Your goodness lifted me up. Mercy. Your mercy lifted me up. Your mercy lifted me up. Your grace will carry me through. Your grace will carry me through. Again, grace. Your grace will carry me through. Your grace will carry me through. So taste and see that the Lord is good.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Codebreakers Analysis. And this has surely been a strange July. So we definitely were correct in picking this month and understanding and discerning that season's prophecy that Dad gave on June 14th of 2014, which was also and is also Donald Trump's birthday. So it's all tying in this very crucial year. And so I have Christie with me today. Christie, are you there?
I'm here. Hello.
Hello, welcome back. So, Christie, what a July it has been. I've actually been trying to keep up with everything because it truly has been a strange July. From Biden and Trump having that debate, as soon as that was exposed of his mental condition and decline, we witnessed the Democratic Party what appears to be a coup.
Yes.
Because Biden was pressured into announcing that he would not run for president again. He remains president, but they are now had just put Kamala Harris in. It seems like, if he had stepped down as president, of course, she as vice president would have, by law and rightfully, been able to take the position of president. But that's not what happened. He's remaining president, but not running for a second term. And they have basically installed her as the candidate without having any kind of a primary for the Democrats to vote for. And as I may not agree with them, but I do believe in the system, and they should be able to vote for the candidate that they want and not have it pushed upon them. We see that the news has completely changed on how they report on Kamala Harris, which is to be expected. It is politics, and we understand the media, but it has all happened so quickly. I mean, within a week, 2 weeks, the entire situation changed there. So they realized that they were not going to be able to win the election with Biden, and so they're playing a lot of tricks, and I'm seeing them threatening all kinds of things. So it's all quite concerning with that. And then also we've had the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Yes. We see Christopher Wray of the FBI trying to deny he was even shot. I was saying just yesterday to some people, don't believe your lying eyes. Donald Trump wasn't shot, is what the FBI director tried to tell us. So, there's a lot of things that are being exposed as these people just brazenly lie and think that the American people are stupid. Then, of course, we had the volcanic eruption, which happened last week. And at the same time that eruption happened, Netanyahu came to America, was not greeted properly.
No, that was shocking.
Feel. And then we saw Trump invite him to Mar-a-Lago, which I loved to see that. And they had dinner together. And then this past week, we've seen Venezuela, what is happening there. And this is another thing being exposed because when, if you go back 20-something years, Venezuela was the wealthiest country in the Southern Hemisphere, at least. And as soon as they started to implement socialism, as soon as they disarmed their population, you saw a very rapid decline in the in life in Venezuela. Everything became impossible. And we saw this past week an election in which the very same tricks were being pulled as we see people doing over here, Maduro came up after they questioned the election. He said he won, and he was saying he will protect democracy. And we see over here, the politicians saying we're going to protect democracy. But I mean, people like Bernie Sanders used to praise Venezuela as a model for the democratic socialism that he was trying to push. And so, what this has been is exposure, is what I see. A lot of things being exposed with the Biden administration and what they were doing there. The Trump assassination attempt that was failed, which exposed the intelligence agencies, the Secret Service, and things going on there, and whoever else. I question all of that. And so then we actually had an earthquake this past week in California. And remember, Dad had seen eruption and earthquake. And I even heard there was a meteor that crashed in the middle of the day in New York City as well. A lot of people have been writing to me about. But we've also seen some things happen in Israel. Yes. Again, in this strange July. And so I wanted you to maybe just share with us, because we've seen that they have now taken out the leader of Hamas. Yes. So I'm very interested to hear what you think about that, Christie.
So firstly, everything that we're talking about, all of these strange Julys, these prophecies about strange July is leading up to the prophecy we're going to be playing you in just a moment, which is about the witch in the White House. Lots of you have written in about that. Lots of you have picked up on that, and you remember that from all those years ago. And Kim's track record continues. It's always generally like 9 or 10 years, man, bang. And it's crazily accurate. It's eerie, actually. So we're going to be playing that for you in a moment. But first, just to be aware of what is going on in some other parts of the world in Israel, so that we can pray, so that we can keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on, be aware of it, and pray. In the last week, a Hezbollah rocket from Lebanon struck an Israeli soccer field that killed 12 Druze children, which was absolutely horrifying. The youngest was 10 years old. All that was going on is these kids, and they're Muslim Israelis. They were playing soccer, and this rocket hit them and took out 12 children, which is just abysmal. From the age of 10 up until the age of 16, tons more have been injured. It's been absolutely crazy, and that's obviously been a big deal. And what's happened as a result of that is that Israel, in a counterattack, now they're not claiming responsibility for it. And also, I'd like to point out, we're recording this on July 31st, the last day of the strange July, and we had to pre-record it because of production things. So you're going to be watching this on Saturday, but we're trying to do a wrap-up of strange July leading into the witch in the White House, and then we're going to be talking more. There's a couple other little secrets in that fall prophecy about fall hypnotic November, so keep watching. You don't want to miss this. But as a counter to, really, as in retaliation of these children being killed, in Iran, the leader of Hamas was taken out, which, I mean, I thank God for that, obviously. But what's happened is that on this last day of July, Iran had a new president sworn in because of what had happened with the previous president, Raisi, getting killed in a helicopter crash on the 19th of May, which I think was the hand of God. The new president, Pezeshkian, he was sworn in amidst chants of death to America, death to Israel. And what has happened now is that the Grand Ayatollah has vowed to retaliate against Israel, vowed to retaliate against Israel's allies, meaning it's a direct threat to the United States of America. We have had a NATO member, Turkey, outrightly calling in the last week, saying that they're going to invade Israel and they're going to treat it like an enemy. When we see these sorts of things going on, and then, of course, the rise of anti-Semitism, which has continued, and it's been on the increase. Kim's Fourth Reich prophecy. At the Paris Olympics, we had people doing the Heil Hitler salute. They were showing it during an Israeli soccer match when the national anthem was playing, and then as it carried on, people were in the stands doing the Heil Hitler salute, which is just absolutely shocking to me. So again, amidst all of this, we have to continue to pray for Israel. Kim's heart was for Israel. He prophesied so much to Israel. The last couple of years of his life was so centered on Israel, but this is the thing. America and Israel, he prophesied to both of these nations about the importance of them standing together. He issued a warning to Obama, and he issued a prophecy ready to Bibi Netanyahu, many of them actually, and we're seeing that all come to fruition now. And so continue to pray for Israel. That's something that's important. Doobie and I cover that on Israel Updates, so don't miss it. But leading up to this strange July, all these things that have happened, obviously now this new president's been sworn into Iran, and he's, vowing, he's an extremist as usual, and is vowing to take revenge on Israel and America for what happened. We're now wrapping up the end of July. We've moved into August, but this is the big thing. Donnè mentioned about there basically being a coup that happened in America, which is just, when you actually stop to think about it, is absolutely horrific. But Donnè, I do think it's important that we now go to this prophecy, because so many people have been talking about it, writing in, and the timeline and the accuracy of this is just, it's actually quite shocking to me, even though I lived with the man.
Absolutely, yes. And you know what, in my list there, I actually almost forgot about the Paris Olympics and what we saw, that blasphemous display, which they
shocking,
enough people, and I'm glad to see this, instead of Christians becoming violent, protesting, burning things down, we voiced across the world the reaction was not what they expected. And I think that they may be under the delusion that more people are in line with their way of thinking, as far as the people who put on the Paris Olympics, and these people who are so extreme and so far left in their views. And so that also, I have to say, it was absolutely disgusting, but I'm very proud of all of the Christians who stood up non-violently. And because of that, they were embarrassed. And advertisers were even pulling out their funding of the Olympics. And so I think there was a bit of a wake-up there for them, that they can't just get away with bashing Christians only, because again, I mean, had it been Muhammad, they had
Paris would be burning,
that too, or something in regards to Islam. It would be
Paris
burning.
would be burning.
And so I was so glad to see that. And I think these kinds of things that keep getting exposed, which is what Dad prophesied in the season's prophecy, these things that are being exposed, as awful as it is to see, it is revealing to more and more people the gravity of the situation the entire planet is in, and especially the West.
Yes.
And so, yes, anybody interested in knowing more about what's going on with Israel and understanding that, please watch Christie every Friday here at the House of Destiny Network at Israel Update. But yes, we have the prophecy from February 22nd of 2014, which we started the beginning of it last week, and we were really able to cover a lot. The Supreme Court and the condition of the West right now, and how God has promised to take care of this. But let us have a look now at the next part of February 22nd of 2014. Here is my dad prophesying.
I am restoring the fortunes of Zion. I am restoring the fortunes that were the inheritance of my people. I am restoring the fortunes of those that are elect of God and had been stolen from. You shall eat your delicacies again, and your children will no longer be your food. You shall not use them and take them out of the womb anymore, says the Lord. Watch how I change everything, for there shall be those who are in justice, and there are those who are in a strong position. I'm just hearing this now. In the highest court in the land, the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court, two shall step down for the embarrassment of what shall take place. For I wish to place in the highest court in the land righteousness, and they shall attempt to put others in to endeavor, to reach their endeavors. But God says, hear me tonight. Hear me today. I have this whole thing planned out according to my will, For it is now time for me to restore the fortunes of Zion. The fortunes to those that had it once, you are going to get it back. This is my promise, says the Lord of hosts. Give him a shout.
Okay, so this little section had so much in it because, first of all, he's promising restoration at a time before we were struggling economically in America the way that we are now, and everybody is. No matter what these politicians, especially Kamala Harris, I saw them asking her a question about it the other day, and she just said, oh no, everything's fine. And basically, I don't know, I'm not going to be able to quote her verbatim. But something else that we're all looking for is the two from the Supreme Court will step down from the embarrassment of what would happen. And also the way he said, they will attempt to put others in to reach their endeavors. Now, my dad didn't know how to say, I think in the moment just didn't know the terminology of pack the court. That wasn't something he would have known. But that is what he was seeing. He was seeing the Supreme Court,
Yes.
and he was saying they will attempt to put others in to reach their endeavors. And I've heard, now, first of all, this week, Biden and Kamala Harris are talking about executive orders and doing things to change in the Supreme Court and our Constitution.
Yeah.
And Kamala Harris even threatening to do this via executive order the minute she becomes president, if that were to happen. And then the packing the court, this all is again, things that were not going on then when Dad prophesied it, but it is a big problem now, especially in regards to Trump's case, where they don't like the decision of the Supreme Court, so they just want to forget it. Just like they don't like certain things in the Constitution, they just want to forget it. And that, is extraordinarily foolish. Don't you think, Christie?
It's absurd, but it's just I don't know. Donnè, there's so much to it, and we know this, but I know that I know your dad, and I know that he was seeing something that he didn't know how to articulate in political terms, which is something I loved about him. So he was seeing the picture of it and seeing it, but didn't know the right terminology, which I think is fantastic, because all it does actually is show that God was really showing him something. Mm-hmm. And again, all of this, the season's prophecy, everything in Strange July, I really feel like is leading up to this prophecy about I can't remember the exact terminology, which is why I know we need to play it, speaking about the witch in the White House, because I know for a period of time, we all thought that it was to do with Hillary, which is something we've spoken about. But I really, really do believe that this prophecy about this desire, they will do everything in their power to put the witch in the White House. I really do believe that this is speaking about Kamala Harris and not about Hillary Clinton. And this is sometimes what happens with prophecy. It starts to unfold, and as you see more and more, you start to realize it. But again, all of this, I really believe that the season's prophecy, everything that we've seen, the Strange July, all the different things where we see the shifts going on in different nations in the world, where Russia, is kind of doing what it's doing, and North Korea is doing what it's doing, and everybody's doing what it's doing. This is so much bigger than partisan lines of thought. This is about the safety and security of the West. This is about the future of a humanity that doesn't look like it's got World War III happening right now. And that's why I believe that this prophecy is such an important thing, and why we have to be aware that all of this, that it seems disjointed, but all of it has really, truly been leading up to this point in time. And I know I've been harping on about it, but it's just something that I haven't actually been able to get over.
Absolutely, yes. Well, I want to be able to get to that part in the prophecy. So let's play the next section now.
This man has stood in Jerusalem. This man that I saw in the vision, the man that came out of a vision, please hear me. I was standing in my garden, and suddenly the Spirit came and removed from my eyes scales. I was praying for America and I was praying for Israel. Nothing unusual. And suddenly behind me, starting behind my back, going in the form of an arrow, were hundreds of thousands of people. And I turned around and I was stunned at what I saw. This was not just a mere dream, but this was a vision. And so I raised my hand like this, and every one of them raised their hands. I looked back and they were doing the same thing. I shouted, and they all shouted. They were one. They were one. One party. One party of people. It continued until I realized that the unity of these, amongst them stood one that God had set aside to be the leader of this nation. I said, why am I hearing this so soon? Surely you would show me a little bit of it closer to the time. And the Spirit of God said to me, this man has a humble stature, but he is a genius. And then I heard gold. I wasn't sure if this was attached to his name, but he said to me, he will restore the fortunes in this nation because of his brilliance. I couldn't quite see his face because that was not allowed, because there was a mist that covered all the people and he was amongst them. And the Spirit of God made me look at him, and he said, this man will throttle the enemies of Israel. This man will throttle the enemies of the West. And there are highly embarrassing moments that are about to occur for many, many politicians in this nation. There will be a shaking amongst the Democrats in the upcoming elections, but unsettling for the Republicans. Why is God doing this? For God said, I am dissatisfied with what emerges from both parties.
Okay. Very quickly, because we haven't got to Witch in the White House yet, but this was very important because what he was describing there was the MAGA movement. On other occasions, he prophesied about the New American Party, is what he kept calling it. He didn't know what to call it. But he saw scales removed from eyes. What is that? Wake up. I spent the last 2 years going on the Reawaken America tour. The contrast to that, what the enemy is doing, is called being woke. So before any of that terminology existed, before anybody was talking about that, my father saw these Americans, these people with scales removed from their eyes. And when he raised his hand, they raised their hands. When he shouted, they shouted. They were one party of people. And amongst them stood one who God had set aside. Now, Trey Smith, when he analyzed that prophecy, believes that the set aside part was also referring to the in-between phase between the two terms and this Biden presidency. And I thought that was such an interesting observation because in the Esther prophecy, he said it as well, set aside. This person is set aside. And so, you hear that and you think, well, set aside, meaning God has chosen, but it means more than that. And so it shows you how much. And then he saw gold. And what do you see with Donald Trump? Everything is gold. And then at the same time, you see the BRICS nations on the other side over there, and they are backing their thing with gold, and everything is to take down the American, the dollar and the devaluation of that in a time where we are in great a time of great change.
Donnè,
Things are changing very quickly.
I'm sorry to jump in,
And,
but this just jumped to my brain with your dad, what he was saying about the set aside. If you think about King David, Samuel came in. Saul had been king. God said, I'm not pleased with Saul. The kingdom got torn from Saul. God came in and anointed David. Samuel anointed him. The oil was poured. Jesse's sons, this one was chosen.
Yes.
That's where God said, the Lord sees what is in the heart. But it was a very long time, actually. David had been anointed as king, but he was set aside, pushed to the side, really. And Saul continued to reign, even though the word of the Lord had gone out and the anointing oil had been poured out. This just came to me now. And I thought, but that didn't mean that David wasn't God's anointed. It just meant that the time wasn't right yet. And for whatever reason, the nation of Israel had to see what it was to have a wicked king leading them, because God had said to them, when you have a king, these things are going to happen, and you're choosing a man-made king over me. And these different things had to unfold and be seen, but it didn't mean that David wasn't anointed. He was anointed. The oil had been poured. The word of the Lord had been spoken. He was the chosen king. But he was set aside for a time until he came and took the throne at Hebron. So that was just something I saw that I'm sorry to have interrupted, but I just wanted to point out.
And that's absolutely right. It's absolutely right. It's aligning actually perfectly, because I was just interviewed by Roger Stone last week. And this was the very story in the Bible that he was focusing on. He was asking me, what about, I think it's 1 Samuel 15, it was where he was saying, what about this? Because he even is seeing the parallel here. And my dad kept prophesying and referring to that and using that analogy, which actually fits, because if you remember how he prophesied about Obama and Saul. And then we see this time where Biden was in. Biden is connected to Obama. He was his VP. We know Obama's running all kinds of things behind the scenes through all of this. So, absolutely. So that thing about Saul, and exactly how you said, God had anointed him, David, through Samuel, but Saul was still king.
Yeah.
You know, all kinds of things happened before David actually became the king. And especially with Goliath, and him taking out Goliath as well. So that's very, very interesting. And also, Dad also saw that this it's not about, it's just the Democrats, because something else that has been exposed to this is this corruption is on both sides. We've seen with January 6th, we've seen with the election integrity stuff where the Republicans could have done something and they absolutely did not. Why? Because they're also getting kickbacks from this.
Exactly.
They're also using these cheating as well.
Yeah.
So what MAGA then is actually, and what Trump has done is a taking over of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And changing it.
Yes.
And so you see the shaking with the Democrats and the Republicans, definitely. And what is being exposed is that corruption is not just on one side. And it's not a partisan thing, because the corruption has gotten so bad that it has spread through both parties. And what we see is that there are good and bad people. So there are good people in government, but they are few and far between. And that realization, and not just to be part of a club. Yeah. Because of a few issues, like abortion and things like that. They divide us that way and keep us divided with party. But there's definitely that corruption is not just on one side.
Donnè, can I jump in once more here? It's just, I'm sorry, I'm kind of like, I feel a little all over the place today, but at the same time,
I'm waiting for you. Yes.
As Donnè was talking, it just came to me, whenever the word of the Lord went out, what generally followed that was a sacrifice. It was an offering. And this is something Kim spoke about all the time. And just listening for us right now, we're living in a place where words that were spoken through God's anointed, chosen vessel, Kim, we're still his house. He's moved on, he's in heaven, he's having a great time, and we're stuck here on this earth still for now. But we're here and we're part of his house. We're still an extension of his legacy. And whenever there was a requirement for cleansing, America needs a cleansing, the West needs a cleansing. And part of that always was an offering for purity. It was a purification offering, a purification sacrifice. It was a sacrifice that was made by the people to bring a cleansing of the land, especially at the big feasts. And so I'm outright saying it to all of you. I really feel this in my heart. I am not for a moment ever claiming that I'm anything like Kim. I'm not. I don't think any of us are. I think he was a once-in-a-generation voice to the people of God. But we, as those who are participants in his house, as those who are still feeding from the words that were spoken to him by God, by the Holy Spirit, I'm asking you now to participate in a moment right now that is transactional between us and the Spirit of God. We need support right now, and part of your offering, part of your tithe, part of whatever it is that you're able to bring is a show to God that I'm coming in with my offering and I'm asking you to bring a cleansing of my family, of myself, of the land, of the nation, of the people. And God always has been moved by that. He's always been moved by an offering. He's always been moved by a sacrifice. He's always been moved by people participating in his covenant. There's a red player below your screen. I'm encouraging you to go ahead and click that and bring your offering to God. And even now, we're stepping in. You know, there's witchcraft that's moving through this land. We're about to get to that, to this big prophecy of Kim's regarding the witch in the White House. We're getting there in a couple of moments. But in order to come and to counteract that, what we as his people have always done, what he had his people do in ancient times, is bring a sacrifice, bring an offering. It doesn't matter what it is. Kim used to speak all the time about the $5 in your face offering. Whatever it is that you're able to give, I'm encouraging you to do so as participants in the voice of God spoken through his prophet that's echoing out even all these years after he graduated into glory. I really believe this is the moment, this is the time, this is it for right now. I'm not going to drag it on for longer, but please, there's a red player below your screen. You know how you can do it. You can click that link to give. You can sow into Israel. You can sow into all these different things, but just know that as you do, you are participating in something that rings out into eternity, because what we're doing here with continuing his legacy and his voice is we're keeping up the voice of God in the earth today. And so I just wanted to take that moment really quickly and encourage every single person to bring your offering and say, God, I'm participating in my desire for purification of this land, to see your kingdom come and your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And so that was just a moment that I really felt to step in and say that. And I'll step back out now.
No, thank you. No, thank you for doing that, Christie, because you know what, really, this is such a crucial time to be aware of where are we sowing our seed, because what you have seen emerge through this new party and this new movement, especially in America, is first of all so much censorship, and then a change. There's been a change, and what has happened is the people who have had to really fight to get the truth to you, and that's us and many others, are beginning to build what they are referring to as a parallel economy. And because of the way that social media is and the way things work, you can put your $10 into Netflix every month. But then what is that? Where are you putting your seed? Where are you sowing it? Are you paying for these kind of subscriptions? Because you're actually helping to fund the opposition then, and they are so heavily funded. You got the George Soroses and all these people. And so it is so important to support the people who don't have that kind of backing, like the big media, but are really fighting to bring the truth to everyone else. And so I do encourage everybody, like Christie said, this is the house of the prophet, and we want to make sure that if that is blessing you, that you are sowing into it, because you will then receive the prophet's reward. So I'm so glad you did that, Christie. Thank you. And thank you to everybody who has continued to support us through the years so that we could bring these prophecies to you, because if not for you doing that, we wouldn't have been able to, and nobody would know about the Kim Clement prophecies. It would have been forgotten, especially in the great noise of social media today. And so it is because of you that people know and hear these prophecies. And it's so important that if nothing else, they hear it, because when it comes to pass, they will remember. And you never know who you are helping, not only to wake up, but also the souls that are lost, and so many who are bounded and blind in this time. And we really have a heart for that here at the House of Destiny. And we're really grateful to be able to do something to help in this time. And I know if my father was here, he would be so excited to be able to do that too. So Anyway, moving along, while you're giving, there'll be different ways for you to give as well. If you're watching on social media, go into the description and have a look at how you can support us, because we do need it. It is not an easy time. And then we have more to show you on this prophecy. Again, we are in February 22nd of 2014, the same year that Dad prophesied the season's prophecy. And again, it's 10 years ago, which is it's something that keeps coming up. We keep seeing it. 2007, Dad prophesied Trump would be a trumpet, and in 2017, he became the president. So there's that timeline that just keeps coming. And here we are in the year 2024. So let's go back to 2014, February 22nd, and see what else he prophesied.
California, you are dying because of a drought. Watch my sign. Watch the sign of rain. For I told you there would be severe wind from above. And all the states that are affected by this severe weather have been set up for a shaking of my spirit and an outpouring of my spirit. But California, I'm looking at you. Gold, stone, California, a smaller statue. And God says, once you recognize the man that I have raised up, pray. For the enemy will do everything in his power to put a witch in the White House. Did anybody hear what he just said? For Jezebel has chased away the prophets and even Elijah.
Come on.
Now I have said, go back. For this shall be dismantled, so that there will be no more corruption in the White House, says the Spirit.
Both of us. Christy, I know, my goodness gracious, everybody, you just heard that.
Oof.
Now, I want to make a point right now. What you were saying about Kamala Harris earlier, it just occurred to me now. When he's prophesying about the witch in the White House, he's talking about California.
Yes.
And that is where she is from. Isn't it San Francisco was her district. And so, I didn't put it together in 2016 because there was Hillary, and you look at Hillary and you just think, yes, she's a witch. But, and I just shouldn't be so rude, but I'm sorry, I know too much about that woman. And so I'm backing up a little bit. So he says California in a drought. And I don't think he just means about weather.
No.
I think there's a deeper meaning there, because California is financially in a drought. It's morally in a drought. I mean, if you look everywhere in San Francisco, in California, in San Francisco too, particularly, you see the homelessness, you see the drug addiction, you see the deception that hangs over people there. And I've lived in California. You live in California.
I do,
right
and I'm
now. My dad's
suffering.
ministry.
Yep.
Yes. And last week, and how many times we've heard you talk about the things that you're dealing with, just trying to live there. It's almost impossible. And so he addressed that. And then he said, okay, here's the things you need to watch for. Gold, Trump. Stone, very interesting. You have the Roger Stone part of it, but there's more to it than that. Roger Stone is the reason Trump ran. But there's often with these prophecies, you'll find many, many parallels. There's layers of meaning to it that go very deep. And so the stone also is very significant. And then he says they're going to do everything in their power to put a witch in the White House. And Jezebel has chased away the prophets.
And when you look
Elijah.
at Kamala, she's known as being the most far left-leaning senator, and anything that would have a semblance of a prophetic voice, she's going to stand against, because she already is.
Absolutely, yes. And I mean, even today, when I was scrolling through social media, people were calling her the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yes.
So this is something that's just occurred to me. So my mind is a little bit blown because I didn't put two and two together on this. I'm a little slow. Sorry, everybody. But California is where she is from. And that is the region that she represents. And that region is governed by the very spirit that is controlling her. And it is akin to this. There's another parallel there with Jezebel and Elijah that has been a very loud parallel also that we've seen through all of this. So, my goodness gracious, this is how prophecy works. And I've learned so much over the years about prophecy in a way I didn't understand before. And I watched my father prophesy my whole life. But I think a lot of us have learned that the longevity of these words was much more than we realized. We at the time Dad was prophesying and we were looking for fulfillment of these things so quickly that maybe there were little sparks of things, but it was not the time yet. And we look at it now and understand not only are we in that season, we are in that time, but it is identifying for us what the core issues are. And this is the way prophecy works. You can go to a psychic and they might tell you little things like who you might marry or when you might die. But when my dad would prophesy over individuals, for instance, he wouldn't just see superficial things. He would see the thing that they needed to overcome in their life. For instance, I remember him prophesying over a woman, and he started to describe a room, and he said, there's a painting on the wall of a sailboat, and there's this kind of a quilt, and this kind of a lamp over here. And he didn't know anything more than that, but she then began to weep and said, this is the room that I was abused in as a child. And that was the thing that needed to be healed and dealt with in order for her to move forward in her destiny. Now, expand that from an individual to a nation. And that's what we're seeing happen also. This is how the prophetic works, is that now that we've come this far, we know when we need to know. And so now that we are in this moment in time, we can recognize, we don't like Hillary, she must be the witch. In 2016 to know. Now you put that, and you look at California now, and you look that it is so clear. And so I don't know what you want to add to that. I am blown away.
All I want to say is that we're living in a season of really, it feels like the amount of fulfillment from the words that Kim gave is picked up to this crazy level. And so I'm encouraging you to stay with us, track with us. We're discovering new things every week. Do that with us. Stay in tune with everything that we're doing. Donnè and I are continuing. Next week, you don't want to miss out on that either. We're going to be bringing Charlie Jordan in to come and speak with us about some more of the prophecy from that specific date where it was just loaded with prophecy. And he was obviously there on the platform with Kim. And we want to get his insight and his feeling about everything as well. So don't miss out on it. We're going to have him on here. We're going to keep talking about this day of prophecy that just feels like a gold mine. So don't miss out. Keep up with us. Come back next week, Saturday. That's what I'm going to say to that as we close out.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, and so before we go, yes, what we'll do is next week we're going to bring Charlie in. And I think for any of you who may not know who Charlie is, Charlie Jordan was the bass player that traveled with my dad for decades. And so every time you see my dad in video prophesying, you'll see Charlie Jordan with his bass guitar behind him. And Charlie is a very, very prophetic person and very anointed in his own right. And he was there on the platform for all of these prophecies. Yes. And so having his insight, we think is very, very important because we may have been observing, but he was actually on the platform, a part of it in those moments, especially this date. And so I'm so eager and keen to hear what Charlie has to add to this because he's going to have insights and information for us. And so do join us next week for that because we're going to go back into this prophecy, same date, because there's so much on this date. That's why it's taking us so long to cover all of it. Because next week, he's going to talk, in the prophecies, he talks more about giants, debt, socialism, human secularism, the Wall Street, and many more things. And so come back next week. Join Christie and I with Charlie Jordan. He also has a show on our network twice a month on a Thursday. He does perspectives of the prophetic, and it is so great and so anointed. And so we're going to bring him on to discuss this with you. And so we are going to leave you now. But before you go, I wanted to say a couple of things. Many of you gave an offering today. If you go to the website, you may want to, we offer some things. This is the daily light. So go to the website and click the banner, and for an offering of any amount, we're going to send this to you. So you can give $1. We're going to send this to you. It's just so anointed, and it is a devotional. My dad loved devotionals. We used to get him different devotional journals every single birthday or Father's Day. He had so many of them because he used them so much. And so we collected things that he wrote and put it into this beautiful devotional. And so for an amount of anything that you give today, but you do have to let us know. So go into the website and click the banner for this. And then the other one we have is for $25 or more is our new release this year. It's called Prophetic Revelations, a collection of letters from the pen of Clement. And my dad not only was anointed musically and prophetically, but also when he wrote. He was so good at it, so poetic, and again, so anointed. And this will help you so much with understanding the prophetic and many other things. And so for an amount of $25 or more, make sure you go to the website and click the banner there. I wanted to make sure you know that, so that you get these things that we're offering, because they're really going to help you. And then it helps support us so we can keep coming to you with these prophecies and helping to pick them apart and understand them. And that's all part of code breaking. And that's why we have called this Codebreakers analysis. We've taken the code breaking to next level, and we are just in this strange July, this whole month of July. You're watching this, it's now the beginning of August, but we made sure to film today. We pre-recorded, and it's the 31st of July today. So this month of July, strange July, is without question the month and the year Dad prophesied about. And this year promises victory. But it doesn't mean there's not going to be a fight. So join us. Every Saturday, we're going to keep going with these prophecies. And of course, throughout the week, the House of Destiny Network has something every single day, so you don't want to miss it. Mondays is Prophetic Rewind. Tuesdays, we've got Real Life, Real Faith. Every Wednesday, we've got FAW. We have church on a Wednesday with Pastor FAW. Every other Thursday, we've got Charlie Jordan, as I told you before. Christie, who's been with us today. Israel Update on Fridays. And then, of course, Saturdays. And then Sundays, I go live on Rumble, YouTube, X, and on our network. And you can chat with me and talk about these prophecies as well. So make sure that you are getting everything that we have to offer here at the House of Destiny Network, because this is what God showed my dad to do, and he named it the House of Destiny. He even picked the logo for it. And Codebreakers as well. He came up with that too. So these were all prophetic things that we are continuing, and your support helps us to do that. So we thank you, and we thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next week. Don't miss it. Charlie Jordan, Christie, Des Fontaine, and me, and we're going to go over these prophecies some more.
I think one of the biggest issues we have across the board is trust. And it's going, well, God, it might not be a lot, but I'm giving what I can. I'm giving what I have to give. And it is a sacrifice and it is a struggle. And I'm going to give this and not go eat out. Or I'm going to give this and not be able to go do this thing with my friend. And it might not be a lot in monetary value, but it's a heart posture of trusting God, saying, I'm giving this, trusting that you're going to give me what I need, and also just trusting that as I do this in sacrifice, it's blessing your heart.
It's almost like unforgiveness, I feel like, because whenever we give, and if our focus is all, well, what do they have, and what do they have, and what do they have, and that can grow in the, well, I'm not going to give anymore. That doesn't do anything for you. No, it doesn't. That doesn't do anything. It's like saying, I'm not going to forgive you and expecting it to affect you. It's not going to affect you. It's going to affect me. Yeah.
Are we giving to God or are we giving to man?
And this is what God showed me, that he is about to come upon all flesh. So there will be old men, there will be gentlemen and women. They will begin to have dreams. And we're talking about agnostics. We're talking about atheists. We're talking about unbelievers that don't know Christ, that hate Christ, that said that Christ doesn't exist, that there's no God. But God said his Spirit shall come upon all flesh, and we will have atheists, agnostics, those that hate God. They will begin to have dreams. And in these dreams will be so vivid, the Spirit of God says, that will be so vivid that they shall shake in their sleep. They shall be likened unto having night sweats, and they shall wake up, and they shall begin to cry out, Jesus is Lord, Jesus is Lord.
You ask and we listen. We're finally bringing the most requested offer ever. Get the queen size premium MyPillow, now only $19.98. MyPillow is made with patented adjustable fill. It adjusts to your exact individual needs regardless of your sleep position. It helps keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long so you get the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. Get our 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets only $25. Our brand new mattress topper as low as $69.98. Get our famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25 and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen size MyPillow, only $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay, order today. From all of us here at MyPillow, thanks America!
We here at the House of Destiny are partnering with you to let our viewers, of course, know about your company. It's Beverly Hills Precious Metal.
Andrew, explain how that works.
So I'll walk you through it right now. So if you go to bh-pm.com, right there on the homepage, you'll see a form that you could fill out. And that form is very important in letting us know how we can help you. So you just put in your first name, last name, email address, phone number. There's a section that says, how did you hear about us? And in there, put Kim Clement. And then there's a portion where you could write a couple of notes down on the bottom. Usually within about 24 to 48 hours, we'll contact you by phone call, and then we'll go over everything with you. This isn't a high pressure deal. We always recommend that if you feel uncomfortable, take a step back, pray about it. You will gain the answers that you need by doing that, and come back to us when you're comfortable.